logged in, and then we will get started.
Thank you, Tricia Lee, and welcome everybody to our webinar. Let me quickly jump into to the speaker slide. So my name is Pete Loebster. I head up product marketing for the data preparation products here at DataRobot. And with me is Mike White, who is Senior Product Marketing Manager. And we will be talking to you about AI as a business imperative, meaning why is this important? We'll give you a quick introduction to the DataRobot AI platform if you've not seen this. We'll be talking about Paxata data preparation and how specifically that fits in to the DataRobot platform. And Mike will give us a quick demonstration, and then we'll open this up for Q&A with you guys. So let's kick this off. According to McKinsey, fast adopters of AI who proactively absorb it into the fabric of their business are seeing exponential gains in cash flow. Those who trust in previous competitive advantages and fail to recognize the transformative impact that AI could have on their business will see their cash flows drop dramatically. What's more, the operational and financial efficiencies that fast adopters will gain over their competitors has a compounding effect, meaning the AI gap will widen to a point where laggards may never catch up and potentially face existential threats to their business. Right now, in your business, in your industry, early adopters of AI are already exploiting this gap, whether you are seeing this or not at this point in time. AI is no longer just a competitive advantage. It has become an essential business need. While the promise of AI is tremendous, more than 90% of companies today face technical difficulties when deploying AI models into production and are unable to generate optimal business value from their various AI initiatives. Data remains a critical challenge and often result in up to 80% of the time and effort going into getting data ready for machine learning. A number of things are working together to contribute to this. First, we have more data than ever to derive insights from, but they're coming from more places and in different shapes than ever before. We have more cloud applications, SaaS applications, best-of-breed applications that we utilize to power our business. We have more cloud data sources on different cloud data platforms. And then we have data coming from sensors and devices, all of these in different shapes, different sizes. To get actionable insights from these require the data to be combined, cleaned, and standardized. And for most organizations today, this requires different people, different skill sets, using multiple tools and languages and platforms to get the job done. To compound the situation, being forced to rely on highly skilled IT resources to do the data preparation is no longer feasible, and it takes those resources away from other mission-critical needs in the organization. And this creates a bottleneck for business requests for new data sets, and it takes longer and longer to fulfill. Lastly, not only is the pace of business driving a sharp increase in the number of requests, but there often is no real single view to look at your business anymore. Many questions are very specific to the issue the users are working on and require specific business context to reflect it in uniquely reflected in the data. Once again, relying on scarce IT resources often then leads to multiple back and forth iteration before the right data is ready for the model build. What is required to address this challenge is a modern, unified, accelerated AI platform, a platform that will provide a single collaborative environment for people with different roles and various skills levels and expertise to easily build, deploy, monitor explainable machine learning models using tools that support the full path from the raw data to the ultimate value and insights we can unlock. And lastly, this needs to be underpinned with a self-service data preparation capability to help with the creation and automation of data for model creation and for model deployment through AI assistance all the way through the entire process. And this is exactly what DataRobot set out to build. the industry's first end-to-end enterprise-grade AI platform. It's a platform that brings together all of the capabilities to turn raw data into information and use that information then to turn into insights through the use of automated machine learning. And it's in an effort to complete this end-to-end platform that DataRobot has acquired Paxata at the end of 2019 to bring data preparation to the AI platform as a first-class citizen. With DataRobot and Paxata combined, you can now manage this entire life cycle all the way from finding your data in the AI catalog, preparing and shaping that data, doing feature engineering, model training, and then deploying and monitoring this in production. Importantly, the platform gets all of the stakeholders, all of your data science teams together to collaborate and accelerate your AI innovation. And all of this is supported on a broad range of deployment options and extensively making use of open source to leverage the latest innovations while assuring enterprise-level requirements for governance and control. So let's talk a little bit about Paxata. Paxata self-service data preparation is the perfect match to accelerate your preparation for DataRobot AI initiatives. DataRobot focuses on empowering the citizen data scientists to build their own machine learning models. Likewise, Paxata was designed with the same ambition to empower a non-technical or a novice user to prepare their own data with no-code requirements. To achieve that, Paxata pioneered the self-service data preparation paradigm. We do this uniquely by allowing the user to work interactively and visually with the data in a tabular or a spreadsheet-style interface. Every action you make on the data immediately is reflected in real time in the data in front of you, and there's no need for code, just clicks. And you're going to see this when Mike do the demo in a few minutes. To assist and speed up the process, we extensively make use of embedded AI techniques to automate or recommended ways that data preparation can be performed. Whether this is ingesting complex JSON or XML files, or whether this is recommending how we can combine two data sets and recommending a join. Paxata is built on Apache Spark to provide the scale to work on real-world data sizes, not just simple sample sizes like 10,000 rows of data. And it will support your multi-cloud hybrid deployment needs. With free and powerful access to the data comes great responsibility and accountability for the organization. Paxata will automatically record every step and version every step in your data preparation project to easily understand the data lineage and to be able to demonstrate compliance after the fact. Lastly, data is a team sport, and Paxata allows team members to collaborate on projects, to reuse and share projects and accelerate the learning and delivery of AI innovation in the organization. So during the demo, you will see a number of these things in action. Over the past 2 months since the acquisition, Paxata released a number of key new capabilities specifically aimed at accelerating DataRobot AutoML projects. Firstly, you will see the brand new user experience, many usability improvements. Also, this new UI will nicely match what you see in DataRobot in AutoML or the time series products. Secondly, is we have a brand new connector to the AI catalog. And this provides bi-directional integration. It allows you to easily browse for data within your AI catalog that you would want to bring into your data preparation job. Once you've prepared the data in Paxata, you can then export the final result back into the AI catalog and then use that as the first step for your machine learning project. Lastly is the predict tool. We will not focus in the demo today showing you this, but this will easily automate and operationalize a machine learning deployed model. So while you're preparing your data, you can insert the predict step, and from the drop-down menu, you can pick a relevant deployment of a DataRobot machine learning model. You can then run and schedule that entire job at will. With that, I believe it's time for us to get to our demonstration. So Mike, I will turn this over to you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Pete. I am very excited for this demonstration. Let me get my screen pulled up. There we go. All right, and a reminder, please feel free to enter any questions that you have whatsoever during the demonstration, and we will get to as many as possible once we conclude the demo here. Okay, so my scenario that I want to walk you through today is around developing a clean and enriched training data set for machine learning models to predict loan default. Now, I'm excited to show you some of the key capabilities of Paxata. There are so many, but the ones I'm going to focus in on are shown here. So I'm going to start out by pulling in data from the AI catalog into a Paxata project. I'm going to profile and explore the entire data set in order to identify outliers, anomalies, missing values, null values, any other problematic values that may cause issues for my model, given this particular loans data. And I'm going to tag that data set so that I might be able to send it to the appropriate team member, and they can actually look into addressing some of those issues upstream. But I got to work with what I got. So I'll do what I can to then take action against these data issues to either remove records, impute values, or do find and replace, and then address any inconsistencies that I find in any of my key categorical variables. Now, there's one in particular I'm going to hone in on, which is the loan type. And in this case, I suspect it's a very important feature for my model. So I'm going to pay more attention and ensure that's a clean variable and address any inconsistencies there by leveraging Paxata's built-in algorithmic intelligence for identifying different variations in the data and then allowing me to apply fixes in bulk against the training data. Then I will add or derive new features and using my business domain knowledge. So I can do this in one of two ways. I can either calculate or compute new columns and features based on my domain understanding using the built-in Excel-like formula builder, or I can enrich or join in useful data sets. And I can pull those data sets in from the AI catalog or other data sources. Finally, I'll aggregate the data to the appropriate unit of analysis for my prediction scenario, and I will derive or create, as the case may be, the prediction target. And with that, I'll finalize it by exporting to the AI catalog where additional magic will take place. So let me jump out to my browser, and I've got a new project that is queued up. And again, just to remind you, and as I go along, very important to focus in on what is my business objective? What am I trying to predict and when? And simply, I'm just trying to predict, will a particular loan record result in defaulting? Now here I'm prompted to select a data set from my data library here. And Paxata provides a data library that gives a governance layer that allows me to find data that's been shared with me from team members, allows me to tag the data with meaningful business metadata or tag it as training or test data, and have full versioning in place so that I've got the full data lineage. In this case, I'll go ahead and import the data that I need from the AI catalog. Now, Paxata provides me the ability to import and export data sets from the AI catalog. Here, I've got a bunch of data sets that exist in my particular catalog instance, and the data that I want to use is the retail loans data, which represents about 500,000 records, raw data that I know I'm going to want to use for training purposes. Let me go ahead and hide the steps panel just to get a little bit more screen real estate. Now here, I have this nice ability to be able to navigate and preview my data as I'm bringing it in. I have the ability to go in and edit and rename columns, exclude columns as appropriate. in my particular case, I'm going to bring in all of the columns and features here, and I might actually want to incorporate additional data based on my use case. So let's say I also want to bring in the third-party company listing, and if the data that I need is not already residing in the AI catalog, then I can navigate out to other data sources as appropriate for my use case. Now, in this case, maybe I've got some data in S3 that I want to pull in, and so I can navigate out to my S3 buckets and then bring in some additional data that I feel may be useful for my purposes, right, wherever the case may be. And one thing I want to call out here is that Paxata uniquely provides an intelligent ingest capability. So whether or not the data set includes the extension that in the file name or not, Paxata can tell me what type of data this is. And even for data that's semi-structured, such as JSON or XML, provides me a way to easily flatten out the data, rather automatically flattens it out for me. Now notice down here, I can see this Lending Club data has been flattened out in a nice tabular view, which me as a citizen data scientist and BI consultant, I much prefer columns and rows, right? And so I can see the original structure of the data here. So a lot of great capabilities for being able to intelligently ingest the data so that I can make it much easier to profile the data and blend it with other data as the need may arise. All right, so for my purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and bring in these two data sets. I'll hit finish, and Paxata is bringing in a snapshot of these two data sets. And while it's importing, I can actually tag this data, and these tags can also be brought through to the AI catalog as well. All right, so I know these are both going to be training data. I might want to tag with other information. At this point, I can also share the data, and that's great. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in some data so we don't have to wait from one of my previously uploaded data sets for the retail loans. You can see is represented here, and I can preview it to make sure this is in fact the data I am wanting to bring in. Yes, it is. I'll select it. Pardon me. So now I have my data loaded into the project. And the beauty and power of Paxata Data Prep is that it provides a interactive, intuitive spreadsheet-like interface so that the focus is on the data. Now, some of the pitfalls that come with getting training data ready sometimes are respective to the different coding or programming languages or limitations that they may have. And when it comes to working with training data in Paxata, I'm able to look at the full data set as if it's just a monster spreadsheet, right? And I have the ability here to take advantage of all of the built-in tools, including if I want to sample it down. And as Pete mentioned, here we have the predict tool for scenarios where I want to call out to a deployed model and bring across the scores from there. Right. Again, to emphasize what I want to accomplish today is to develop clean and enriched training data that I can land back into the AI catalog to have DataRobot run all of those models and then be able to help me predict and pick the best model, deploy it, help me predict loan default for production data. Now, when you're exploring data in Paxata, it is a wonderful experience because you can take advantage of pattern and space and range highlighting. You can see it lights up my grid, and it starts to help me identify the different characteristics in my data. Now, some of it may be telling me there's a problem. In other cases, it just maybe it is what it is. What I noticed here right off the bat is that I've got, I kind of get a sense for the distribution of values for some of these columns. I noticed there's a trailing white space in the business unit column. And as I scroll to the right, I can even see in-cell histograms for numeric columns, which is really helpful to help me get a quick sense for the min and the max and the average for my different numeric features. As I scroll to the right, I also see I've got some leading white space here and down here. I see there are 3 white spaces here. I see some zeros. So I'm at this point, I see, okay, I've got to spend some time on this data, and also my default prediction target, which is nice. I'll probably update that. What I want to do at this point is take advantage of Paxata's built-in filtergram. Now that's a Paxata specific word, but what it allows me to do is go in, and this is my handy column operations menu that allows me to select from a variety of built-in transformations without having to resort to code. And that's the value of Paxata. And the first one is very powerful. It provides me a visual understanding of the full contents of this column, right? And now it may be okay to just look at a small sample, but sometimes the anomalies are quite meaningful when you're trying to clean up the data and get it ready for modeling, right? And you also want to make sure you're producing the ideal clean data for the best, most predictive models. So I brought up loan type. I'm also going to bring up a filtergram on closing date. That's also one of the key features that I want to look at. And I'll bring up one on my locking rate. Now notice that based on the content, Paxata presents me a visual that is appropriate for that particular column. So if it's text, I get a bar chart. It's the best way to visualize data for the most part when it comes to leading data visualization best practices. And I can also see for my date columns, I get a nice timeline view. In fact, I can even scroll in and my x-axis will dynamically update. And there's a lot of power that you have to explore your data and be able to zoom into it, to be able to pan left and right, and also to be able to view the data all the way down to the hour of the day if you have a timestamp. And that's really nice for being able to get a sense for your timeline data. Now, in my case, I see clearly we have an outlier over here at the right. Let me go ahead and and I'm wondering what's going on here. We had somebody close their loan in 2023, apparently, which is miraculous to say the least. Now, the key is Paxata is helping me identify issues in the data, anomalies, and then deferring to me as the expert on the data to decide what to do about this. It may be appropriate based on the business context to just remove the record. It may be appropriate to impute appropriate values by using a linear fill down, which is one of the options in the dropdown. It may be appropriate to go in and say, you know what, I see this is actually a transposition error. So I'm going to go in and double click on the cell, and that brings me to the find and replace window, and Paxata prompts me to let it know what do I want to replace this particular string with. So I'm just going to say, well, in this case, starts with 2023. Actually, we realize this is not the case. We know this is 2013, right? And that may be subject to my investigation on this particular record. And that's just an example for how I'm going to resolve this particular data set. So I'm going to save that and come back out to my grid, which refreshes automatically with the change. And now I see a complete updated histogram for my closing date. Great. Last, and I'm going to then focus the rest of my time on the loan type, the locking rate, just to highlight some issues. We've got negative values, which is obvious to me just by looking at the fact that the in-cell histogram does not begin in the very left side of the cell. I can also see that I've got my distribution here, but then I see I've got some invalid values. So Paxata actually provides a built-in data quality indicator to help me just simply click on buttons to identify where all of these invalid values are. Now, I'll highlight that in the context of loan type, which I'm a little concerned about because it's telling me that there are 365 distinct loan types, which is already a red flag. And as I scroll down, I already see that we've got issues with sparsity. I see a bunch of blanks, and I see their dates. What is going on here? Well, I can take advantage of these buttons to just go in and say, you know what, let's just go ahead and filter on all the blanks. Let's filter on all of the invalid data values. And now you can see those selections have been made. The grid below has highlighted, so I can actually see the record in context of the other columns nearby. And I might say, you know what, I'm going to also add to this the single space that shows up for the loan type and the null and the n/a. For this use case, all of these items just represent problems with the loan type. So the fix I'm going to apply here is simply a change into a custom value. Right? In this case, I'm telling Paxata, just take all of the things that I filtered on with a couple of clicks and just rename them to TBD, right? Or whatever particular value that I want to enter here for my purposes, right? And I see the preview below in the data grid. I hit save, and now the filtergram immediately refreshes again, as we saw. And now we are left with a loan type that looks almost clean, and yet the last problem we have is it looks like there's some variations in the data. I can see and I missed a missing. But we can see that there are different variations because perhaps this particular column was not standardized at the upper end. So here I'm going to take advantage and bring in some more powerful capabilities instead of a simple find and replace. And I'm going to have Paxata run text algorithms across this entire column and detect for me where do I have all of these different variations in the data. Based on what? Well, based on the fact that they sound the same, you know what, I'm actually going to swap over to the fingerprint algorithm, which is much better for my training data set creation, because I can see here, I'm going to avoid any false positives that may arise due to phonetic similarity. And here, again, Paxata, you can see the pattern is deferring to me as the citizen data scientist to decide how to go in and clean this data as appropriate. So I'm going to select those, and I can even say, you know, let's cluster this automatically, and I'll hit save. And you've gotten a good sense, I think, for how we've been able to clean up this data. I'm going to go ahead and kind of roll forward and jump over to my completed project where I've done something, where I've continued this process. And we can see we left off right here. If I just continue through as I step through the data, and this is where the steps panel is awesome. It provides me a way to see how the data is changing as I add steps, as I add transformations and compute new features and new calculations, which show up at the far right. And here I brought in additional customer information, which helps me understand for each of my loans, what additional customer info do I have? I compute a new column, a new feature, based on whether the fact this record represents what we call a 2x customer, air quotes. And then finally, I derive the updated or the new default prediction target column. So I finalize this project by setting a lens. And by the way, lens keeps track of a subset of the data for my purposes and for my training of my data, or forever helpful use that I have. In this case, I've got now my clean loans data. I've hidden some of the columns I know won't be available at prediction time, and I'm going to publish this data to the library and subsequently to the AI catalog. Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and bypass the actual export and jump over to DataRobot to conclude. Now, where we had come from, we had noticed that we had some issues in the loan type, and that would have been pretty darn obvious by looking at the feature frequent values view within DataRobot. Now we've got this new clean loans data, and great, no missing values, 9 unique, and notice that we even have 40 total features due to the automated feature engineering that DataRobot provides. Now, with that, I'm going to jump back to our slide deck, and I just want to conclude, and I'm going to pass it back to you, Pete, just by saying, hopefully you've been able to get a good sense for how Paxata provides an interactive visual experience that doesn't require you to use code anywhere, and that allows you to explore the entire data set, identify anomalies, take action as appropriate, depending on your use case, blend in feature enrichment, and set the prediction target, and a bunch of other cool stuff that you can do to ultimately produce the best possible training data for your DataRobot automated machine learning.
Thanks, Mike. Folks, I hopefully folks enjoyed the demonstration. I can see a number of questions. So before we get into the questions, let me quickly wrap up. We've talked about the importance of accelerating the data preparation task for AI. So let's not waste that 80% of our time just finding and shaping the data. With Paxata's unique integration with DataRobot, we are truly empowering your citizen data scientists and data analysts to own that journey, starting with data preparation. We can greatly streamline and accelerate the entire process safely by using embedded AI techniques to automate and provide recommendations for the user. And then lastly, Paxata enables you to do so with full confidence with end-to-end enterprise-grade governance and security for the environment. So if what you've seen today is looking interesting, I'll encourage you to become an AI innovator today. You can start by requesting a demo online, or if you want to go to paxata.com/get-started, you will see a number of videos. You can sign up for a free trial and get going with the product and actually have hands-on experience with us immediately. I'd also like to invite you to our weekly Paxata live session where we will do live demonstrations. We open this up and Mike will keep on doing this. You can go to paxata.com/PaxLive to join us there. So with that, I will start looking at some of the questions. So one of the key questions that came in was around system requirements and system limitations. Paxata is available as a SaaS offering. Alternatively, you can run this in Amazon or you can run this in Azure. We're working on other cloud platforms as we speak. So there is no real system limitation in terms of how much data you can run. When you sign up and have your subscription, we will have a conversation with you about your data requirements. And typically your subscription is tied to the kinds of volumes of data that will be processed in aggregate through the system. So there is no single user-based license, it's an aggregate. If we have the need for hundreds of millions of rows of data, then obviously we will try to shape your deployment like that. One of the other questions was also what data sources and databases people can access. We provide support for most of the data sources out there, relational databases, cloud databases like a Snowflake, Redshift. We support, obviously, Hadoop, the distributions that are out there in terms of connectivity to Hortonworks or Cloudera, etc. And then we also have support for JSON XML files, so you can have semi-structured files as well as some of the popular SaaS applications like Salesforce. One other question sort of related to this that came out was around the support for unstructured or pure text data. So back to my comment about semi-structured data. So you can see from Mike's demonstration that we ultimately bring data in and show this as a tabular or a spreadsheet-like representation. So depending on what you want to do with the text data, if it's really a textual document, I'm not so sure that the data preparation that Mike was showing you is going to be as meaningful. You can obviously bring that text data directly back into DataRobot and use that in your model training and model creation if that's the style of analytics or machine learning that you're looking to do. But in most cases, if the data can be reflected in columns and rows, we will find ways for us to bring that data into the environment. Mike, is there anything you want to add on to that last one?
No, that sounded great. Hopefully you caught the JSON file I imported momentarily and saw how Paxata automatically flattened that out and provided additional options to further adjust that structure for your benefit.
Right, so one of the other questions was also about documentation. And so that's the important one, as you've seen with Mike, is every single step is automatically recorded. So that provides you with real-time documentation. Every one of those steps are also versioned. And it also means that if you've got multiple people working on the same project, all of those steps will be recorded, will be versioned, and you can actually, like in a Google Sheet, you can actually have two people working together on the same project. So it provides full data lineage, meaning you can always go back, you can copy paste those steps into another project if you would like to do that in any form that you want to. Mike, the last question I'm going to put out there for you is, if people know DataRobot, they will know about the newly released automated feature engineering. How does what you've just shown with Paxata match or compare with the automatic feature engineering within DataRobot?
Yeah, that is a great question. And we're currently working on a piece of collateral that digs deeper into that very topic. But I just jumped back out to my browser. Okay, good, still sharing. And I just wanted to show you, you saw what we were able to do in Paxata. But if I jump back out to the DataRobot view, you saw in the case of my clean data that I pushed, and this is the data that I had exported to the AI catalog. Notice there are 40 features here, right? And I think we exported something like 27 or 28. If I scroll down, you can see an example of the automated feature engineering that DataRobot is doing. So it sees that there are dates in the data set and is then deriving the different dimensions of the date data, right? So that's just one of the examples that it incorporates automated feature engineering and actually expands the data in the feature set to provide even more data for the models to be able to take advantage of. Yeah, but definitely
Cool.
more to come on that topic. Thank you.
Right, so with that, I believe we are right about at the end of our time. We will, if there are any other questions, please do reach out to us on email or reach out to us on social media, and we will answer and respond to all of your questions as quick as we can. Thank you very much for joining us, and I do remind folks, go and try for yourself. Sign up for the trial. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for joining today. As a reminder, we will be sending out a recording to everyone who registered and attended. We hope you have a great day. Thank you.